Alrighty, so with the introduction of Dokkan Fest Perfect Cell, that means we have to update the TUR tier list. Now, the way I sort of like to do these is separate the easy A's and the regular TURs, because when you blend them together, you kind of run into this issue where a lot of characters who I think would deserve at least a mention would just get left off of the list because of the quality of some of the easy A's and some of the super easy A's, and I think that they just fulfill different roles overall for the most part, where Dokkan Fest TURs, especially the more modern ones, you know, we're talking like the Glorios of the world, the Cells, the Kid Gokus, even like the Super Saiyan 3 Vegetas, I think you could argue fulfill like a leader slot role when someone like Super Easy A Buhan or Super Easy A Perfect Cell, they kind of fit a team filler idea, right? Like they could be a mainstay on the team, but you aren't going to be running them as like a leader or anything like that. So you sort of have to kind of divert or diversify the list a little bit just to make things a little bit easier. But if you guys prefer that I keep them together, I can do that. But again, I just feel like it would be a little bit more skewed of an argument on how things go, and then the list would be just a little bit too big, and I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time with this tier list. So I'd rather do like 2 videos over the course of a week than one 45-minute video today where I talk about literally like every TUR in the game. So let's go ahead and get started with today's list. Again, I don't like doing top 10s as much for TURs as I do with LRs, so we are going to be doing the tier list format for this specific one. So let's go ahead and get started with our A tier, and the first character I'm going to put in the A tier is Tech Buhan. Now, this guy has fallen a little bit from the last list, but keep in mind, if they are on this list, I think they're a very good character. They could have their disappointing moments, I think, but overall, they are good if they are on this list, right? You don't end up on the top 10 TUR tier list on accident, right? So with this Buhan, very powerful domain, very powerful support, has high tanking capabilities with that domain. The issue is, I think, outside of the domain when you can't have it activated, which is definitely possible with this guy, you're not always just going to be able to have like a perfect situation with this guy where you're going to be running all of the power absorption characters that you would need, and it sometimes can just be a little bit awkward. So if we do pull this guy up, it's worth noting, right? So if we go, where we want to go? Artificial life forms, I think, is where we want to end up here. Let's see, where is our boy Buhan? So with Buhan, right, or just to make sure we're all on the same page, I think a very good leader skill, power absorption, and transformation boost. Very, very good. The issue is we need to have a full power absorption category on the same turn in order to make that work. And if we go to power absorption here, we're pretty simple to sort of set up, right? Where I think if I had STR Cell, I'd like to try this team out, where it's like just a pure power absorption team where you have this cell, you have this cell, and then you have both of the Buhans here. The issue to me, once you get outside of this Buu, it's like, I guess you would run Buhan. I guess he could work. It might be a little bit tricky, but I suppose you could make that work. Yeah, so like Buhan, Buu-Tanks, Buhan, Cell, Fat Buu, right? You are going to run into an issue we'll talk about a little bit later, but I guess that can potentially work out. But I think right now, you could put him in S if you wanted to. Really, I think overall he's an S, but I don't want to do Z, S plus S. Just, you know, make it a little bit easier to understand, and it's like what's more fringe, what's not. So this is who I'd have at the A tier. Let's go ahead and move on to the next character. Okay, so next up on the list, this guy is definitely a fan favorite, but I don't want to go too aggressive in terms of how I'm ranking this guy, just because I think that he is a little bit more marginal in his usage, and that is going to be Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. Now, I guess I forgot to mention that these tiers are not ranked, so just please keep that in mind. The tiers will not be ranked. Honestly, at the end, I'm going to put like a text up, like when the list is complete, and it's just going to say like right here, just like tiers are not ranked, right? So this Super Saiyan 3 Goku, where I really like this character, where he is going to excel, is going to be the battle-hardened formidable foes, right? I think that this guy has so much potential in there and so much usage that it makes up for the fact that he is not really a long event killer. And what makes him so good in there? It's the guard. It's the 90% damage reduction. It's his ability to stun on that super. That makes him so incredibly powerful, and he has so many different things that he can do, and I'm a really big fan of what this guy brings to the table. Now, is he perfect by any means? No, but where you're going to be running him, I think he excels. What you guys have to understand is the way that I'm more viewing this list is like, Are you bringing this character into absolutely everything? If the answer is yes, then he's probably going into the Z tier. If the answer is a little bit marginal, no, then you're probably bringing him into most content, maybe not all of it. And if you are only bringing them into one sort of content where it's like, you really want to stay into this niche when it comes to difficult bosses and stuff like that, that's where you got to kind of evaluate things, right? So with this Super Saiyan 3 Goku, it's like you really want to stay into that 5-turn sort of buffer where you're going to be able to stun, you're going to be able to have that damage reduction up at all times at the 90% clip. Are you going to have that slot 1 capability right away? The answer is yes with this Goku, but if you go throughout the entire fight, the answer is going to change a little bit, right? Like Battle Hard and why can't I keep messing this one up? But Festival of Battles, this guy's not cutting it, not even close, right? Like if you're not hitting 45 million by like turn 38 or turn 45, whatever it is, right? I'm spitballing. Like you can't be ran in the Festival of Battles, right? Unless you are somebody like the Scouter Vegeta, where you have the orb changing and stuff like that for other people and defensive stacking, it can work. But primarily, if you are not a stacking unit, it can be very, very tricky to be ran in Festival of Battles. And I think that is definitely going to be the case here for Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and why I'm not going to put him much higher, right? If you're talking about like a fight that goes 11 to 15 turns, this guy is not going to be an ace. If you're talking about a turn that goes 6 turns, then you could talk about this guy being an ace. So that's why I have him at A. If you want to put him in S, I think that's completely respectable. Let's go ahead and move on to the next character I'm going to have in the A tier, and that is going to be Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Or not Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, excuse me, Super Saiyan Vegeta from Saiyan Day of last year. Now, with Saiyan Day Vegeta, actually a little bit underrated, I think, for Festival of Battles. Has stacking capabilities and can work pretty well in there, as well as a decent leader skill. You could run this guy on a lot of different teams. We're talking about the 10-year anniversary LR teams. He can be slid on there, and he is a nice little filler if you are missing, say, the Namek Gokus of the world, the Kid Gokus, the Scouter Vegetas. There's probably more of a chance that you have this character than there is that you have this character, because this guy was on the Daima Vegeta banner, and this guy was on the Kid Goku banner, which had Tech UI on it, which means you probably something on it. So, this Tech Vegeta, I'm actually a pretty big fan of his stacking capabilities, and overall can be ran in the Festival of Battles and look pretty impressive. So that is always going to be a plus. Can you be ran in Festival of Battles? If the answer is yes, and you're not like, oh, this is a horrible idea, then you're probably going to be ranked pretty well in terms of the top 10. But I can't go much higher than that. But overall, I think defensively, this guy holds it down pretty well. And again, with his stacking, we can pull that up really quickly. It's pretty impressive with what he is able to do, right? I don't think that this guy is like a world beater by any means, but he is very, very good, right? Like we have high defensive boosts, right? When you get receiving an attack, right? We're going to get extra defense. We're going to have extra defense right here. We have a lot of Goku enemies in the Festival of Battles, right? And we are going to have that chance to get an additional. But if we look at the super attack effects, which are going to be right here, he is going to be a stacker in base here. And if we transform into Super Saiyan Vegeta, we are going to be able to sort of look at this differently. So you'd want to stay in base for basically the whole fight, and then towards the end you can transform. He's going to have guard, he's going to have damage reduction. We're just going to have extra attack on certain things, right? Getting a guaranteed one, we get an action break. This guy just does a decent bit, and for the Festival of Battles, I think he's going to be a little bit underrated. So the same thing is going to be said for the next base form Vegeta that I want to talk about here today, and that is going to be the Scouter Vegeta. Now this guy is very simple. He is a very nice stacker, and he also provides extreme utility in the Festival of Battles with the form of his orb changing. Now, for those of you who have played the Festival of Battles, I'm sure that you know one of the biggest struggles that you're going to run with the meta team. If you don't know the meta team and maybe you're struggling to beat it, here you guys go. Your boy is throwing you a bone. Okay? You want to run AGL Vegeta or AGL Super Gogeta as your leader, the Vegeta portion. You want to run a Tech Vegito, your own Tech Vegito, right? The 7-year fusions, Namek Goku, and AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Then as a leader, a friend lead, you most of the time want to run a Tech Friend Vegeta. But the issue with this team in specific is definitely key. And where does that key become a problem? It is the lack of orbs and the ability to orb change with that specific setup. Now, it's made up for in the fact that basically every character on that team has an ability for extra key per orb, but sometimes it is just not enough, right? Like it's just, you're just going to be running into situations like where you're just going to have to take the 18 key, or you're going to have to take a 17 key, or you're not going to be able to get the 24 key. And what this guy brings to the table in specific I think that's really sort of unique to just him at this point with this Festival of Battles team is he has orb changing when it just passively, right? So with the Super Saiyan 4s and the Super Saiyan Blues, you can transform with them, then they become orb changers. But that is not the case here with this Vegeta. He is just always going to have it. And he has the ability to stack. So he is somebody that a lot of people are using for their no item runs for this event. I know most people, especially like if you're just trying to clear, you don't care about the no item run. And I think that's completely fine. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, you have to no item run in it to have an opinion in there. But with this guy, this is a common character that I see when people are trying the no item run. So at least have to mention that. And I think overall, this is just a really good character. Definitely found some value with the addition of Festival of Battles. And that is really going to be his bread and butter. The same thing here with this Vegeta. This is really where they get value, where you can easily argue they shouldn't even be on the list. The Festival of Battles ensures that they will be on the list. So these four right here, very simple. I think that's going to round out the A tier. Let's go ahead and move into S. And we are going to start with Int Fat Boo. Now, Int Fat Boo, it's really just kind of comes down to his utility is timeless. He does have that long event utility with the stacking, right? He stacks his defense and stuff like that. And then he also has a revive that's going to get you out of jail free. Say you somehow get to the final phase with this guy against Tech Super Vegito and he takes that 20 million super. If he's not stacked up enough, you die, right? And then you come back with the revive and then you can use the Ghost Usher on him the next time you see him. Now, you could say this is a bit suboptimal because a lot of the times with those final bosses, what you want to do is use the Vegito taunt to do all your damage. And a Ghost Usher would obviously kind of mess with that. But just being able to revive and get out of jail free, I think is something that's extremely valuable, and you can't understate how good that potentially could be. So I think that overall, this guy still fits very well on a lot of the best teams in the game. We kind of talked about it earlier, but maybe not even the best teams in the game, but the teams that you're running him on, he is like a mainstay, right? Where we sort of, who do we want to pull up? If we go back to Transformation Boost, like what is a common team that you're going to be running? Like this Buhan team, right? Power Absorption, he fits on that team, right? Well, let's, where is our boy at? We'll go Majin here. I don't know if that was the most optimal way to do it, but I'm sure he's on there. Yeah, here we go. So again, stacking, healing, right? Revive, Ghost Usher. It's just, this guy is a very good long event character. I think what's going to be this guy's worst enemy, though, unfortunately, when it kind of comes down to things, is going to be the charge limit. Because offensively, like, he's okay. But again, his effect right here, you guys know, like, he's only stacking defense, right? So, like, maybe as a floater in there, that's kind of the way that you'd want to do this. But again, if it comes down to him finishing a turn, it's going to be extremely tough. So just keep that in mind. I think that overall he is very good. Again, he, like, especially for like stuff like Battle Hard and Formidable Foes as well. Like if we kind of come out of the Festival of Battles umbrella, like we could talk about how this guy, he's doing a whole lot, right? Like has the ability to stun. And in Battle Hard and Formidable Foes, this is unironically like one of the best characters in the game because you can just run him off leader skill and do what you want him to do, where you float him off or you toss him in. Like, let's just say you have like a turn where you have like 5,000 HP and you're like, okay, well, we're gonna die anyway, so let's toss Fat Boo in slot 1, get the revive, and then the next time we see him, we have a Ghost Usher, right? So I know a lot of like a very common strategy in that Battle Hard and Formidable Foes event is you run this guy on like a AGL Gogeta led team, and then you cheese the Ghost Usher that the Gokus have from the AGL Vegeta or the AGL Gogetas, and then you bring this guy as well, and then you're going to have an additional Ghost Usher. So there's just a lot of turns where these hard-hitting bosses just cannot hit you. So I think that is where I would have this guy for sure. S tier, I think is a really good spot for him. And if you want to put this guy up here, like that's fine. I'm going to keep him down here. But I think that Fat Boo is just a little bit better because he has the stacking for the Festival of Battles as well. So that is why I have him up here. But don't overlook it, right? Like this is this is basically what we're going to do here, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next character, which is going to be Daima Vegeta. Now, Daima Vegeta, very, very, very good leader skill. If we look at this right here, that's kind of a boost, huh? No pun intended. Transformation. I don't know why I thought Power Beyond Super Saiyan was in there, but Transformation and Gifted Warriors is still like, it's still a very good team, right? So if we look at Transformation Boost, who do we have in here? We have this Daima Vegeta right here. We have the LR Super Saiyan Gods. We have LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku. We have Cell variants, Super Saiyan 2 Goku. But if we want to go off of Transformation Boost, we can come over here to the Gifted Warriors portion of this, and then we get access to, you guessed it, the Year 10 LRs. So like a Daima Vegeta team, we're looking at we're looking at Daima Vegeta, the Year 10s, right? And then we come off of the year 10s, and then we go back to transformation boost. And then we have access to characters like Daima Vegeta, and then we have the Super Saiyan Gods, the Super Saiyan 4s, right? Like, you're basically getting like a mini Super Saiyan, like, if you want to get like funky, you get to run like a different version of the year 10 team. But again, it does kind of always come down to running the year 10s. The issue with this guy is just defensively, he doesn't have enough. Now, that first turn is going to be good, and where his issue kind of comes up is the fact that he is giving crazy support, right? Like, support is going to be one of the best things that this guy has, right? Crazy support. But the issue is they want him to have like slot 1 capabilities. And with these slot 1 capabilities, it's just not enough, right? Like, defensively, he just does not fit where you want him to be. But I think overall, with the support that he is giving and stuff like that, he is just a little bit better than these 4 characters here, where you could run him in those short form events and stuff like that, and he is going to work out just fine. Getting that attack and defense is nice. Then raising the allies' defense is going to be good. The issue is, it's like, if you really wanted to make this guy just like dumb, stupid, like insane, if this would have been 2 turns, I think that really kind of would have been where I'd want him to be. I just think he's too recent and is doing a little bit too much, especially having like that scouter right away, having that extra damage reduction right away. He has a very similar philosophy to like what this guy has. He's just a little better, I think, in terms of that turn 1. Just again, having a scouter is very nice because you can potentially protect him if you need to, but I don't really think you're going to need to. The problem, I think, is just like the devs kind of put out like a note saying like, how do you want to use this guy? And they're going on and on and on about how he's like a really good slot 1 character, but like throughout the entire fight, that is definitely not the case. So I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest fan of this character, but I think he's good enough to the point where he's not in the A tier. But if you wanted to argue him in the A tier, I wouldn't like combat you too hard on that. I just think he is a little bit better than the rest of the group there up at the below him. So that's who I have in the A tier or the S tier. Let's go ahead and move on to the next character, which is going to be Daima Goku. Now, just to kind of keep this one short and sweet, you guys know how I feel about Daima Goku. Very slippery, he's hard to hit, and he also has very good support. Leading transformation boost, just like our boy Vegeta here. You just kind of put him on the year 10 team and he can work where he has these supports, stuff like that, on these super attack effects. This guy is where, like, this is what they should have done for Daima Vegeta, right? Because if Goku gets the 2 turns of support, why did Vegeta not, right? Because like that attack support is going to be very nice. It's going to make the team hit harder. I just think sort of one of the issues is going to be you cannot stack like permanently, right? So when you go into that umbrella of the Festival of Battles, I think you are going to be in a little bit of a spot. So Daima Goku, big fan of him. His dodging is very nice and his support is very good as well. But I would not go too much higher than the S tier for Daima Goku. Now, next up on the list here, we have our boy Cell. Let's do something like this, right? Let's just kind of make sure that we're all on the same page here, just in case for those watching. We gotta, you know, we always got to do these things just to, so people can't take it soon like they're just in case, right? Because people don't like to read. Cell, brand new character, a lot of mechanics. I think one thing that really frustrates me about him though is his leader skill is not the best, right? Like that's kind of what's keeping him out of the Z tier for sure. He has a lot of going on for him, right? He's doing a whole lot, but the issue to me is that when there is a restriction for something like his domain, which is very helpful, you kind of are restricted a little bit in the way that you want to run this character. Now, thankfully, it's not the whole team doesn't need to be tournament participants, right? But where things do get tricky are the fact that you have to consider what is going on, right? He has to be ran basically next to another Cell, right? And that's okay because those are going to be the characters that work best with him. But any restriction is a bad restriction, right? And it's going to be the same thing when we talk about Kid Goku here in a little bit. I think that it's pretty obvious that this guy has like a frustrating sort of thing going on here because you know, like domains always create problems, right? So, you know, maybe you're running this guy on like transformation boost, you're running him on the Buhan team. Well, this guy auto creates the domain and then you have to wait until this goes away in order to activate the Buhan domain, which Buhan in his domain is probably just like, it's tough, right? Oh man. It's tough, right? Like I'm just trying to think of like, yeah, I'm trying to think of like who is better, right? Cell in the domain or Super Boo? Maybe this is obvious and this is like what happens when I don't have this Cell. Like I'm trying to evaluate him. But overall, like I think this guy just having a revive is extremely valuable. And we talked about this with in Fat Boo, right? Where this guy is essentially just like a better version of Fat Boo. and we go over here to his super attack effects, he's just not as much of a stacker as Boo is. So it's like outside of the Festival of Battles, I think this guy could be a little bit tricky to run, but when you put him in anything else, I think it's going to work out pretty well. It's just Fat Boo. The issue is you're running these two together, right? Like we just pair these two together. One of these guys, only one of these guys can revive. And when you have two of them, it's just going to be tricky, right? So if we do that, where is Fat Boo? So if we go over to power absorption, we go over here and we look at this Boo, right? There's only one way, I believe, to get the, so we have to wait till turn 7 to get the Usher, right? So where this is going to be tricky is if you need to get the revival early with Boo, like you might have to choose which one you want to revive with first, right? So sometimes that can just be a bit conflicting. And I guess I'm kind of overstating it because like you can get the Usher still outside of turn 7. So say like in Festival of Battles or a long red zone stage, I think that could be easy to get around. But with like this specific, if you're going into like battle hard and formidable foes, you're definitely going to want to prioritize this Cell or this Fat Boo right here. But the issue is if you revive with this Fat Boo, then you are losing stuff with Cell, right? So you are going to be losing the potential to guard and get the damage reduction rate of 15%. So if Fat Boo ends up taking the revive, then you are losing this buff from Cell. And if does Boo have, you are going to be losing another additional buff. So like you have to forfeit the buffs on one of these characters, right? Because 3 characters can't revive. And that is really where these characters are going to be at a problem, right? So they kind of like work against each other where you don't want to be running them together. And I think that could be a little bit of an issue considering, Cell doesn't have, or like, the transformation boost, the extreme variant of it doesn't have like an extremely deep bag. And if you want to stay into the confines of running like an extreme setup with that, it's just going to be a little bit tricky. So that's why I would potentially want to move Boo or Cell. It's tough to run them on the same team. And that is why we don't have Cell up in Z. But the last 2 characters we're going to talk about today, I will put them both in Z, and that is going to be Glorio and Kid Goku. Now, really, you could do this, but I'm going to give Glorio some flowers just because I like Glorio a lot, and I think he's just a fun character to use. I like running him and just have fun using his team. You could easily make an argument that he is not Z, but I think he has his argument. I think the support that he brings to the table, the ability for him to do like 5 supers, the dodging that he has, I don't think there is enough dodge nullification in the game right now to the point where it's like a major hindrance to this Glorio. Can it be a problem? Absolutely. I'm not saying it's not. You don't want to take a dodging character into a dodge disabling stage, right? Prime example, AGL UI Goku. If we just kind of go back in the past here, God Goku, AGL Gogeta Blue, right? We just kind of look at dodge or die characters that we've seen in the past. You look at characters like maybe like Kefla, if you have to put her in slot 1 at one point. Just overall, you guys understand like dodge or die characters. You get the concept. I don't need to go over every single one. So with that, just providing the monster support that if you're running 2 of him essentially never goes away is just extremely valuable, right? There's almost never a time where you're not going to have that support active, especially like keeping him floating. And then you look at his team with demonic power, right? You can run accelerated battle, which is also going to give you access to a lot more options. He is just overall a solid character. You guys know how Glorio works at this point. I don't need to go into it too much. And the same thing could be said for Kid Goku, where I think that Kid Goku, he's just runnable everywhere, and he is just insane everywhere, right? Really, what I think we could do, no, because I don't want to differ it too much. I'm just going to keep it like this. Kid Goku, runnable in short form content, runnable in long form content, and just dominates in both. The ability to stack, he dominates Festival of Battles. The biggest issue with Kid Goku to me is the intro buff restriction with Dragon Ball Seekers, and then the other thing would be the fact that he just does not have great links, right? It is very, very tough to have synergy on a team. Like if we just kind of go, where do we want to go? Is he still in the database on the top page here? No, he is not. How do I want to do this? So we go right here. We go to this. Yeah, you see, you got to know how to maneuver these things. But with Kid Goku in specific, right? It's like this intro buff is not good. The buff itself is good, but it's the fact that you gotta really limit yourself, right? With Dragon Ball Saga Youth or Dragon Ball Seekers, his unit super attack is not great, but the thing that we want to talk about here is the links, right? What links are we almost never going to be seeing? The Innocent, right? The Incredible Adventure and Guide to the Dragon Balls. On the setup that you would be running him on for something like Festival of Battles, which is going to be pure Saiyans alongside the Year 10 LRs, right? With these guys, where are the gods? Right here. So like these guys, you, right? It's just really tough because he just does not share many links with this guy. So if we just bring this guy up for an example, right? It's like he shares All in the Family and Fierce Battle, right? Like this Goku doesn't have the Innocence, Guide into the Dragon Balls, the Incredible Adventure, right? And that's going to be the same case for almost any character that you're going to be running him alongside. But thankfully, this guy, that's how good he is, to the point where it's like, okay, it doesn't really matter, but it can be a bit of a hindrance in terms of like building characters up in the Festival of Battles. So there you guys go, the Dokkan Fest TUR tier list. Let me know down below what you guys think. Where would you be ranking these characters and all of that fun stuff down below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know your rankings. How would you do this? Would you move any characters up? Would you move any of them down? Please don't take this as like disrespect for any of the characters. Sometimes you got to kind of make like a decision. It's like, where's this guy going to go to S? Is this guy going to go to A? All of these characters are good, right? So please keep that in mind. If you think a character is a little bit higher, that's okay. Let's be respectful about it and all of that fun stuff in the comment section below, especially not just towards me, but towards other people in the community as well. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you were new, and I'll see you all in the next one.